Trucker Dump for November 26, 2012, episode 88. You Can't See America from the Truckers Lounge. A guest post by Kevin McKague.
Welcome to Trucker Dump, where you'll get one driver's insights and sometimes humorous views of truck driving and the trucking industry, and pretty much anything else he feels like dumping on you. This podcast is brought to you by AboutTruckDriving.com. Resources to help you understand the world of truck driving through the use of stories and a pathetic attempt at humor.
Howdy doody, folks. Todd McCann here. I trust y'all had a dandy Thanksgiving. Other than eating way too much and having the runs for a day and a half, I had a great one. Yeah, I know. I'm thinking about changing my Twitter name to TMI Todd. Well, I guess you've already heard that today's podcast is yet another guest post. I really can't wait to get back to writing again. I've already explained the weird time loop thing going on in the last podcast, so I won't go there again. If you really want to know, listen to show 87. Well, enough of that. Today's topic is supplied by a gentleman named Kevin McKague. As you'll soon hear, he was also kind enough to give you a much-needed break from my annoying voice. Unfortunately, his laptop crapped out on him recently, and he's been doing all his computing on a combination of an Android phone and a computer at the public library. Now, being an Apple guy, I don't know what sounds worse. So anyway, he was devoted enough to record using his phone, which unfortunately had a weird audio glitch not long after he started. I ran it through a bunch of audio filters and came up with something I hope you'll find presentable. Either way, I'd rather have his voice with slightly lower quality than not have it at all. Like everyone who isn't used to hearing their recorded voice, Kevin was a bit nervous. But what do you know? Other than the extra filtering I had to do, I actually had to edit his first recording far less than I still have to on my 88th. So let's get on with today's podcast. I love the title Kevin came up with. You Can't See America from the Truckers Lounge. Man, ain't that the truth. Hey there, folks. Todd piping in with a few words before we get started with today's guest post. As many of you already know, I use my blog as a venue to share my thoughts about things related to trucking. I save the deep, insightful, well-researched articles for those other websites. But every once in a while, I want to cover a subject that I know precisely diddly squat about. This is one of those times. After following the adventures of Kevin McKague on his Twitter account, I approached him for the job of covering for my ignorance of exploring as a trucker. He rose to the challenge. Not only did he turn out a heck of a blog post, but he's also one of those nice guys on Twitter who can make you laugh, even if you totally disagree with the subject of the tweet. That's a rare thing, so if you aren't following Kevin of MI on Twitter, you should start cutting yourself in shame right now. Or you could just click the link and avoid the inevitable pain. I hear bloodstains are a bear to get out of clothing. Since I'm a lazy bum who rarely goes exploring, I doubt I'll be back after this post with any of my own thoughts. After reading this post, I will say that I felt more of a desire to see what I've been missing all these years. I'm not sure I'll follow up with any action, but hey, at least it tempted me. Maybe one day I'll go out on a limb and try something I've heard about in the past. I think they call it taking a walk or something like that. I trust y'all will enjoy this guest post as much as I did. So with that, I'll shut my turkey hole.
I became a truck driver in my mid-30s after years of hating my career in retail management. I wanted a job that offered more security, that could withstand the ups and downs of economic tides, and that couldn't be outsourced. Most of all, I wanted more adventure. I had always loved to travel, but I didn't like the kind of travel arranged by travel agents and tour guides. I love spontaneity and the serendipitous moments of finding things that you didn't know existed. I love getting on a highway and literally taking the road that you've never taken just to see where it went. I often run into drivers who believe that it is impossible to really enjoy a spontaneous travel experience while behind the wheel of an 18-wheeler. While it's true that many places are off limits to us, you won't find truck parking or truck routes to the Grand Canyon or Statue of Liberty. You can find plenty of adventure if you're willing to walk a few blocks from the truck stop subway shop. These opportunities are not hard to find if you want to find them. In the days before smartphones, I would simply consult my Rand McNally truck atlas and start walking towards the closest interesting-looking town or neighborhood whenever I was stuck in a truck stop for 34 hours. Today, there are apps for that. By the way, the Google Maps mobile apps include a lot of trails, and the directions for bikers, pedestrians button can point you towards them. Or if you don't have a mobile device, alltrails.com is an excellent way to find places to explore. One of my favorite stops along my current dedicated run is the Western Maryland Rail Trail in Hancock, Maryland, just off of Exit 3 on I-70. Park at the Liberty Truck Stop and walk across the street to the C&O Park entrance. You can also access the trail at Exit 12. Look for the brown traffic signs by the side of the freeway stating Rail Trail Access. There you will find over 20 miles of paved trails built on a former rail line that travels along the Potomac River. I carry an inexpensive bike in the passenger seat of my truck for just such a location. The trail has plenty of wildlife. In fact, twice while I've been riding, I've been joined by deer that have come right up to me when I wasn't looking. One fawn ran alongside me for a few yards and then sped off into the woods as soon as I looked directly at him. Casinos offer another opportunity for side trips. Even if you don't like gambling, many casinos offer truck parking and shuttle buses. The drivers of these buses, by the way, don't know or care if you even actually stay at the casino. Once during an extended layover in Moline, Illinois, I took an advantage of a shuttle offered by the Rhythm City Casino in Davenport, Iowa, just across the Mississippi River. There, I found walking and biking trails that followed the river and crossed over in 2 spots, allowing you to shop and eat in 2 states. The Davenport Casino is also within walking distance of the modern Woodman Park, the home of minor league baseball's Quad City River Bandits, an affiliate of the Houston Astros. The Ameristar Casino in St. Charles, Missouri offers truck parking, and while walking nearby there, I noticed that the parking lot is right next to the Katy Trail, another rail trail that runs across nearly the entire width of Missouri. To the south of the casino is a nice wooded area with smaller dirt pedestrian trails that remind me of something Huck Finn would have found comfortable. Just to the north, about a block, is the historic city of St. Charles, with some good food and interesting architecture. Next to the Missouri River in town is a sign marking the location of an early campsite of the Lewis and Clark expedition. I don't normally gamble, but the casino offers free fountain drinks and a cool Dean Martin-themed slot machine that plays Ain't That a Kick of the Head when you win. In 2011, just a few days after we killed bin Laden, I visited the Flight 93 National Memorial near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. The official memorial site had not been built yet, but was completed in time for the 10-year anniversary of 9/11, and I've been told that trucks are still allowed in on weekdays. As always, I would recommend that you first call to make sure that this policy hasn't changed before making the trip in. The roads to the site from the Pennsylvania Turnpike are legal for trucks, but depending on which way you come in, some are very hilly and challenging for those with heavy loads. If you're comfortable with dropping your trailer, there's a truck stop with a big lot in Somerset at exit 110, so you can bobtail in. Somerset also has some good restaurants and some nice architecture. I recommend the Summit Diner on 791 North Central Avenue, just a short walk away from the truck stop. If you feel comfortable approaching the subject with strangers, most of the people in Somerset and the surrounding areas have stories about what they saw the day the world almost literally fell on them, 9/11. Don't forget to consider using mass transit when you can. Los Angeles offers a $5 pass which allows you to travel any city bus or subway. Yes, LA had subways, who knew? For the entire day. Early in my driving career, while stuck near Commerce City, a simple call to the LA Metro office got me all of the info I needed to get a map and to make my way down to Long Beach. There, I found plenty of nice restaurants, shopping, and beautiful boats to look at down by the docks. The beach there is sandy and clean, and it's a good spot to have a picnic lunch while watching boats and tourists. From Long Beach, I went to Hollywood to look at the Walk of Fame. Like the casinos, Hollywood was never on my list of things to do or places to visit, but once I got there, I had a blast. Now that the TA Travel Center in Nashville, Tennessee, has been rebuilt after that devastating flood in 2010, you can park there, walk across the pedestrian bridge, and visit one of the nicest, most entertaining cities in America. Even if you're like me and don't like country music, it's quite a different thing to see an up-and-coming artist live. By all means, just walk into the first bar that has live music drifting out the door. Many of these shows are free. Stick to the Diet Coke, though. You have to drive in the morning. The library has nice art displays and will allow non-residents to use their computers and internet. The state capitol allowed me to roam freely when I was there. I wandered onto the House floor and into the Supreme Court library. Asked the guard about the marble staircase handrail with a bullet hole. I won't ruin the story for you, but let's just say there is more than one way to stop a filibuster. The key here is to expect the unexpected and look for adventure each and every time an opportunity presents itself. Use your smartphone apps, and maybe keep an extra fully charged battery with you in case you get lost. The older I get, the more I have come to understand that the sayings that sounded like silly cliches when we were young are true. You truly only live once. While you're sitting in the truck stop listening to drivers complain about the same things you heard drivers complain about in the last truck stop, eating yet another Subway sandwich and watching another repeat of Law & Order, you could be discovering something. By the way, what is it with Law & Order? Is there a 24/7 Law & Order channel? Does the Department of Transportation actually require that Law & Order play nonstop in every single truck stop in America? But I digress. This is a beautiful country we live in, my friends. It would be a shame to only see it from the freeways.
Kevin McKague is a father of 3 and a truck driver, and is probably somewhere between Flint, Michigan, and Baltimore, Maryland at this very moment. He's a recovering elected official, having briefly served on the Davidson, Michigan City Council. He's a media junkie, a social media addict, avid reader, traveler, and optimist. He does not want to buy anything from you. He can be found online at twitter.com/KevinofMI, at Flickr, and his Instagram ID is Kevin_McKague. That's KEVIN_M c big K AGUE. And his Flickr link will be in the show notes. It's kind of a whacked out URL, so just go to the show notes for that one. Well, Kevin, thanks for the post. It was awesome.
Hey, yo, bud, where do you want this load of feedback?
All right, what do we got in store for you here? Let's see, got a few comments on the last podcast, which was about the 5 tips for sleeping on a busy road. And I've got another comment from a different website on something else I did. That one's a long one, so let's get to these real quick. I'll try to get through this. First up, Bolton Woods says, I never leave home without my body-length pillow and my teddy bear. The sound of a reefer unit on constant run is like a sedative for me. Thanks for the tips. Well, Alton, I understand the body-length pillow, but I'm having a little trouble with the teddy bear. Thanks for stopping by and leaving your thoughts. As always, they're welcome and appreciated. Helmet or Heels stops in again and says, finally, a blog post. Even though I count a guest post as a cheater post, it is better than nothing. In or out of a truck, some great advice is given. Kudos to all. Dang, woman, I wrote more words than Sam did. That kind of counts as a blog post, right? And lastly, Rose says, I hope you notify us all when your new site is up. Well, Rose, notifying you won't be the problem. Shutting me up will be the problem. Thanks for your thoughts as always, Rose. And lastly, I had a comment from Kristine Harrell. She wrote in on something else I did. There's a website called jobshadow.com, and I've got an interview on there called Interview with a Truck Driver number 2. I'm the second one on there. There's another truck driver who did it too. This is a website that basically lets you follow careers, get an idea of what a career's like if you're not into it. So, like, when I was looking into pharmacy, still am actually, but when I was looking into that, I went on there and found some really good job interviews with pharmacists and kind of just describe what their day was like and the good things about it and the bad things about it. It's kind of a cool site. So if you ever want to check out a job that you know nothing about, go to jobshadow.com and see what you can find. Anyway, Kristine wrote me in and she says, thanks, Todd. Your post was actually one of the most helpful information sources I found. I'm signed up to start trucking school down in Southern Cal next week, and I'm pretty excited about it. I went to trucking school back in 1992, but my kids were babies back then, and it just didn't work out. For several years recently, I drove a transit bus for First Transit, that's Greyhound, but I worked for one of their shuttle companies, connecting the dots between major metro areas. And let me skip over a little bit here. This is just some personal information about her. She says, I have a CDL Class B and a clean driving record, and I'm 44 years old with only one accident back in 2009, and that one wasn't my fault. She says the other driver was DWO, driving while old. She says, now that my kids are grown and I'm unmarried and unattached to anything or anyone here at home, over-the-road trucking just seems perfect for me. Well, that and I love driving. I really do. That's why I stuck around at First Transit for so long. It sure as heck wasn't for the paycheck. Boy, I know that feeling, Kristine. And here's the meat of the matter. She goes on to say, I am learning that the way to go if you want to optimize your income in this business is to go over-the-road teams. I'm cool with that, but just a little apprehensive too. I'm a woman. Most truckers are men. What have you seen and or heard about the way female teammates are treated out there? Is there a general atmosphere of professionalism, and do male drivers resent being teamed up with a female driver? Maybe because the assumption might be that she would slow the team down or not pull her weight. And is there any pervasive expectations among male drivers that a female teammate is likely to become a bunk buddy? And if so, is it because that kind of hookup is common? I'm asking because I really would like to avoid any uncomfortable or awkward situations. And so if it turns out to be likely that as a team driver I'd end up having to fend off unwanted advances from my coworkers, which would make me feel pretty creeped out, then teams might just be off the table, you know? Don't get me wrong now, I'm no delicate flower who gets offended by raunchy jokes and never play the princess card, but I surely do not want some mouth-breathing, knuckle-dragging troll making constant innuendos either. So in your opinion, am I safe choosing team driving, and how many female drivers do you see out there whose male driving partner is not their spouse or significant other? I think that there are very few of those, and there may be a good reason for it. Oh, also, loading and unloading, not my favorite. I'm 5'4" and physically fit, but that does not mean that I have even close to half the strength of a man has for lifting stuff. I'm not the macho girl type, and I have absolutely no desire to go out there and try and prove that I'm as strong as one of those guys. What type of companies and or situations should I avoid so I won't wreck my back trying to lift way beyond my strength and ability? I want to drive trucks, not load and unload them. One more thing. What do you think of Swift Transportation? I have a job offer from them immediately after I get licensed, and I just wonder how good they are to work for. If not them, then who should I try instead? Thanks so much for your time, Todd. I really appreciate the insight. And here's what I wrote back to her. Hey, Kristine. When I was asked to do this interview, I looked at interviews from lots of fields. Short answers didn't help at all, so I decided to put some effort into it. Glad it helped you. Besides, I'm one long-winded puppy. It's great that you've driven a bus for years. You'll have it so much better than your fellow driving students. You already know how big of idiots other drivers can be, so they'll be less of a distraction while you're trying to learn to downshift. I wouldn't say that women drivers are mistreated out here. You'll occasionally get some jerk who feels the need to belittle you for being a woman, but by and large, most drivers will treat you with respect. You will be the target of lots of flirting, though. Doesn't matter if you're sexy or butt ugly, you'll get flirted with. Sounds like you can handle that, though. There have been some stories making the rounds about women being sexually harassed during their training period. I don't have any insight into the truth of this, though. We'll address how this can be stopped before it gets started in a minute. As far as men resenting getting teamed up with a woman, I don't think it really works that way. It might when you go with your trainer at your first job, but I think most trainers expect they might get a woman every now and then. When we first started, the evil overlord, that's the wife, got to choose to go with a man or wait for the next woman trainer. She started with the guy and finished with the woman when she was available. The evil overlord wished she'd have stayed with the guy. That lady trainer was a piece of work. Some companies may not have the option of a woman trainer, though. They're few and far between. Maybe you'll want to be a lady trainer once you get some experience under your belt. Yes? No? Once you're out of training, though, you should get to team up with a person of your choosing. If a company is forcing you to run team with a stranger, you may be at the wrong company. Make sure you ask about that before you hire on with anyone. Next up, I certainly don't have any figures on how many women are teamed up with men who aren't their husbands. By far the majority of women team drivers are doing it with their husbands, that's for sure. There's plenty of lady solo drivers out here too, though, so don't throw that out as an option. Now the touchy subject of men as team partners. I'm sure there are plenty of guys out there with pure motives. I'm also just as sure that there are pigs disguised as men. Whenever I hear of a guy wanting to team with a woman, I can't help but think he's got that bunk buddy thing on his mind. I have absolutely no evidence of this, but if I were you, I'd sure want to find out why he prefers a female partner. Maybe he just can't get along with other guys, but maybe he's looking for a bedmate. My advice would be to ask him why he prefers a woman, and before you choose to team with him, I'd make a strong statement. Something like, "Just so we get off on the right foot, I'm not looking for a man, and this arrangement will come to a quick end if you ever lay a hand on me or verbally harass me. This is a business arrangement only." And you know what? If this upsets him, you'll know what his motives were. On the other hand, I guess that means if you change your mind about the guy, you'll have to make the first move. Now, having said all that about men being pigs, I have a good friend that teamed with a woman. They hit it off and are now married with a beautiful baby girl. But if that isn't what you're after, just be forthright about it. In short, if you want to team with a man, be prepared to have some issues before you find the right guy. You know us men, we're all liars. Or you could just wait until another solo woman is looking for a team driver. They do exist. Next up, you mentioned loading and unloading. When you're looking for employers, ask about their drop and hook percentage and also what's called no-touch freight. 80% drop and hook and 95% no-touch freight or higher are good things. That means 80% of your loads you'll simply drop one trailer and hook another one that's already loaded. 95% no-touch means you'll only have to fingerprint, that's hand load or unload, 5% of your loads. And even that may be more than you'll actually do. In my 15 plus years, I've fingerprinted, 5 to 10 loads maybe. Most of the time you'll be unloaded or loaded by the customer. Just go with higher drop and hook and no touch percentages and you'll have even less to worry about. And by the way, even places that require you to load or unload usually have lumpers available for a fee. If you're a company driver, this fee is almost always paid by your trucking company. And lastly, Kristine, I have a policy about telling drivers who to work for and who to stay away from. I don't. I do this because every driver's ideal carrier is different. For some, home time is most important. For others, it might be mileage pay, weekly miles, pet policy, equipment, or proximity to your home. Although that doesn't really need to be a priority since over-the-road drivers usually get to take their truck home. I will say this though, everyone gets job offers from Swift. They aren't known for being super picky. I doubt you're on the road for a week before you hear a Swift joke on the CB. Don't get me wrong, they could be perfect for you. They aren't that huge without a reason. Just do yourself a favor and don't be flattered by companies that are actively pursuing you. There are a lot of good choices out there, many that you've never even heard of yet. Do your research by talking to a lot of recruiters. The only way to find your ideal driving job is to take your time and be selective. Holla back, girl, if you need anything else. Good luck. And you know what, folks? She did holla back. But we've gone on long enough, so I'll tease that for next time. And it's pretty good. I found out some stuff I didn't know either. Talk to you next time. Here's how you can contact me. Okay, folks. I know some of my listeners are avid explorers. What are your tips on how to find time and locations to get out of the trucker's lounge and explore? Share your thoughts by going to abouttruckdriving.com, typing TD088 into the search bar, and leaving your tips in the comments section. Or if you'd prefer email, shoot them off to truckerdump@gmail.com. If you forget all that, holler at me on Twitter where I'm @ToddMcKague. That's 2 D's, 2 C's, and 2 N's. And remember that only mean people don't subscribe to the Blogger podcast. Links to both are on the website, or you can find the podcast on iTunes. Well, time to shut my pie hole. Again, thanks for listening. So until next time, drive safe and stay out of my way.